Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, America's #1 trusted resource for realtors who demand authentic, real-time coaching. Starring award-winning real estate coaches Tim and Julie Harris. Get ready for unfiltered, full-strength honesty about what is truly working to get you into action and make you money in this new real estate boom. Now to our hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back to Real Estate Coaching Radio, and we are your humble hosts, Tim and Julie Harris. Julie, welcome back to today's radio show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Let's get going.
Yeah, and we have a killer topic today, guys. Now, listen, we have the Buddy West interview. It's going to take place tomorrow. Buddy is a longtime friend of our business and someone Julie and I have known since basically we started selling real estate about 20 years ago. He's a top producer from the East Coast. He's got a lot of cool things to share. So we're going to have him on the radio tomorrow, and today we're going to talk about what I feel is probably the real estate news story of the year. As we were predicting and as we've been warning all of you guys for really over a year now, the days of buying buyer leads will be coming to an end. And I was as bold to suggest, and I believe we are the first people to actually make this prediction, that once News Corp essentially got settled inside Move.com's HQ out in California, that the first thing they were going to do is make serious moves to end the syndication of listings to Zillow and Trulia. And that's exactly what they have done. We warned you. We did our best to prepare you for this sea change and how a lot of you guys have been running your businesses, and I'm hoping you've paid attention. So what we're going to do on this radio show is we've got a lot of ground to cover, and this is really, really critical because like I said, many of you, this is going to be a massive change in your business. Don't blow this off. Take this seriously. Take notes. Listen to this radio show again. We've written down a lot of notes. We're going to take a quick commercial break in a little bit, but for now, I just want to jump right in. So first of all, 3 quick announcements. Thanks for all the great feedback on the previous show about overcoming fears. In case you missed it, haven't listened to it, our friends over on Inman.com have it featured. So go to Inman.com and listen, and they've got both the audio links so you can listen to the replay. And as you guys hopefully know, we are going to be contributors on Inman.com, which, to be honest with you, is a huge honor. I'm just thrilled that they are wanting us to syndicate our radio show on that fantastic website. They're a news site. We're more of a commentary and real estate coaching radio show. So as you guys know, we kind of take some of the news and translate it in such a way that I think makes it practical for all of you in your real estate businesses. Number 2, second announcement, many of you are ready to hire a coach but don't know how to pre-qualify a coach. We're seeing a huge increase in the number of folks that are expressing interest in hiring a coach. Some of you guys have had coaches before. Many of you have not, so we've actually made it easy for you. Brand new website just went live today. Go to compareacoach.com. It's compareacoach.com. So compareacoach.com. And of course, there's a link for that on the show description for today's show. So many of you, virtually all of you, listen to us on mobile devices. You can just click the link in the show description. Also, I'm looking at the show description now. There's a direct link to the Inman article, and it's called Rupert Murdoch Playing Hardball with Zillow. Boy, that's an understatement, by the way. And the third announcement, one of our ways of giving back and thanking you for making us the #1 real estate industry radio show is we are going to give you and continue to give you probably for another 30 or 40 days a free copy of our best-selling book, Think and Grow Rich, the Real Estate Edition. Remember, the beginning part, like the first 100 pages of that, is our real estate treasure map, the business plan that all of you have to have finished. It's have to have completed, have to take seriously. It's the roadmap that a lot of you are searching for and how to build your real estate business. The link is on the show description. There's no, or at least I'm looking at it, there will be a link on the show description for today's show, and just go and download that book. And then, like I said, the first section of the book is the real estate treasure map, so complete that. So those are my 3 announcements. We're going to take a really quick commercial break and talk about one of our favorite companies out there, Mojo Sells. And when we come back, we're going to jump right to the exact points, what you need to know now, what is going to be immediately relevant to your pocketbook now that essentially Zillow and Trulia will no longer be syndicating listings, or at least the vast majority of the listings that are for sale, homes that are for sale in the country. So we'll take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, get ready to take notes. You know, every day we do free coaching calls, and one of the questions I had is, what will be the one product that they should employ in their business immediately that would have the most immediate effect on generating listing leads? And you know what? I love the question because I didn't even have to think about the answer. The answer was Mojo. I mean, Julie, can you think of anything more powerful than mojosells.com at really generating consistent listing leads?
If your intention is to build your listing inventory and then maintain your listing inventory, it's really a must-have for the sake of efficiency. And I would agree with you. If you had to choose one thing, that'd be at the top of the list.
And I love it, too, because it's like a complete system, and it's turnkey. And if you guys don't know what Mojo Sells is or Mojo, what they offer, and like a lot of people, if they've heard what Mojo is, they'll say, well, it's a dialer. But it's so much more than a dialer. I mean, honestly, it's one of those products that everyone should have in their real estate practice. If you're serious about your real estate business or you're serious about becoming a listing agent, there honestly isn't any question that you should be using mojosells.com. You know, so here it is. We're talking about Mojo on that radio spot, but the fact is that never before has a company like Mojo Sells been so relevant, especially considering what you're about to learn about what's going to happen, what we expect to happen with Zillow. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of history, first of all. Some of you, I'm surprised to be honest with you, but some of you don't know how really the interlacing of how listings appear on different websites. So give me about 30 seconds to kind of walk you through it. And it's going to sound convoluted and crazy what I'm about to tell you, but this is really how it's worked up until literally late yesterday when the announcement was made that it's all going to change. Okay, so here's how it works. There is a company, that was recently acquired. There was a company called Move.com. There is a company called Move.com. Move.com owns a whole bunch of really well-respected real estate brands. Most notably, I would argue, would be Realtor.com. They manage Realtor.com for the National Association of Realtors. Essentially, the website Realtor.com is essentially the creation of Move.com. That's the way to think of it. Remember, National Association of Realtors owns the brand Realtor, but there is a business relationship there. But effectively, Move.com has been managing Realtor.com. Move.com also owns a company called ListHub. You guys are familiar with ListHub, many of you. So what has happened is that when you guys see your listings or you see listings in general on all these different websites, you know, Zillow and Trulia included, but literally there's hundreds of others that ListHub has been selling data to, selling your listing information to. And they've, I think, for the most part, have done a very honorable job of controlling where the information goes and where it doesn't. I think, you know, Celeste Fairchild has done a fantastic job. I don't think anyone would argue with that. So the reality of it is that what has happened is that Move.com via ListHub has been essentially providing the very lifeblood, that'd be your listings, to Zillow and Trulia. Now, maybe in retrospect they wouldn't have made that agreement, but they did. So they had this long-term syndication agreement with Zillow and Trulia that literally made it so that Realtor.com had competitors, whereas before they really didn't have competitors, or at least competitors in the sense that the listing data was available on multiple websites. And of course, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on the different controversy that's been around Zillow and Trulia. You guys know, for the most part, most of our listeners have one opinion or the other or somewhere in the middle with regards to, their Zillow and Trulia. But the real bottom line here is that Zillow and Trulia, it's argued, I've heard somewhere around 35%, I heard 30%, they get those 30 to 35% of their listings on Zillow, supposedly, they get from direct feeds. In other words, they have established relationships in the real estate industry, and they're getting information directly from brokers and small brokers and agents. You guys get the point. So that means that once that the 70%-ish of their other listings that were featured on Zillow were from the syndication feed they received from ListHub. If I'm not getting my details correct, or if my percentages are off, I'm sure one of you will let us know, and I'll correct any factual data that I've stated wrong. But conceptually, here is the bottom line, is a vast majority of the homes you saw for sale on Zillow and Trulia, and you guys know Zillow and Trulia are now merging and becoming one company, so we'll call it Zulia for the sake of today's radio show. So Zulia has been getting a vast majority of their listings from ListHub, even though ListHub was owned by Move.com, which was managing Realtor.com. Okay, you follow me on all that? So ListHub through Move.com was essentially feeding the very lifeblood, the listings, the things that got the consumer traffic to those websites. And let me be on the record as saying this and being very clear. I think the guys that run Zillow and Trulia have done a brilliant job. And I'll even go as far as to say they have done the job that Move.com should have done in the first place as far as building an elegant consumer experience. They really have. They set the bar so high that within, 7, 8 years, they completely displaced Realtor.com as far as consumer traffic. Zillow and Trulia quickly became 1 and 2 as far as where homeowners, where potential buyers went to receive real estate information. But now that syndication information is no longer going to be, or 70% of it is going to be eliminated from those websites, it's my contention that you're going to see the deck get completely reshuffled, and it's going to happen faster than a lot of you are really mentally, emotionally, and financially prepared to deal with. In other words, the syndication agreement between ListHub and Zulia, again, I'm making that word up, but you guys get the idea, ends the beginning of April. That means that unless a rabbit is pulled out of the hat, which I wouldn't put it past Spencer Raskoff, the guy's brilliant, but unless a rabbit's pulled out of the hat, you're not going to see your listings, a lot of other listings. They're going to essentially be relegated to a minor role in the real estate portal industry behind Realtor.com. Why? It's not because their consumer experience isn't better, and it's not because they haven't done a great job. It's because I don't think at the end of the day a home buyer or a potential seller is going to really be that married to the experience. What they want is they want access to the data. And if the homes for sale information, the best homes for sale information is on Realtor.com, and then Zulia has sketchy information. So right now they have between 30 and 40% of all the homes for sale that they have from what's called direct feeds. So assuming they don't dramatically increase that percent, that means that homeowners, potential sellers, whatever else, they're going to get frustrated with that experience because what they're looking for just isn't there. But hey, it's on Realtor.com. So you guys see what's going to happen? Now that's the history of it. That's what's happened. That's what's going to happen in our prediction. And so now we're going to drill down a little bit about the about the article on Inman News Features. Again, you guys click on the link, hop over to Inman, read the whole article, and obviously read a lot of the comments from fellow real estate professionals. It's always very interesting. So Julie, if you don't mind, if you can pick up like right where I left off, where it says from Inman.
Sure. Yep, you got it. So again, from Inman.com, Realtor.com operator Move Inc.'s subsidiary ListHub is set to stop sending listings to Realtor.com's rival Zillow in 90 days. So that puts us right, as you said, Tim, right into the beginning of April, potentially cutting off the flow of hundreds of thousands of listings to the most highly trafficked real estate portal on the web. So hopefully you guys are pretty clear on this. Starting in April, that syndication is getting cut off. So what they said is we've not been able to come to terms with News Corp over renewing the ListHub agreement, Zillow Chief Revenue Officer Greg Schwartz said today. The ListHub agreement will most definitely expire in April, he said. He declined to elaborate further on negotiations between the two companies. Realtor.com operator Move Inc.'s subsidiary ListHub is set to stop sending listings to Realtor.com rival in 90 days, as we said. So, you can read on and continue into the comments. There's tons of comments on Inman from fellow realtors and brokers of how
Julie,
this is going to affect you guys. Go ahead.
Why don't you read a couple of the comments? Read some of them. I mean, just read the first, read just a few, and definitely give credit to the agents that actually, read who they are and what. Because some of the comments, Julie, the reason I like reading Inman News Features, to be honest with you, is the articles are always awesome, but the comments show how smart agents can be when given the opportunity to express their opinions. And I think some of these comments, though they're kind of funny and maybe snarky, maybe a little rude, they're also so honest. Julie, what did Paula Hathaway from Works at Prudential Douglas Elliman have to say?
You got it. So it says, if I believed you and I did not have personal experience of life-altering damage the insidious Zillow and Trulia can do, with the way they claim to have real knowledge of the local real estate markets, then I may say, wow, I must rethink my position. However, nothing will ever convince me that your companies will ever be a long-standing factor to this profession and my own business. Simply put, both Z and T, Zillow and Trulia, are merely an annoying gnat in my ear. And, Tim, that's not the first time we've heard that from clients, too, is that, that first comment from Charla Moore in Woodlands, which I believe is Texas, broker associate realtor at Remax Woodlands, says, Zillow makes my job harder while I have to waste time explaining to my clients why the information is wrong or outdated. So people have been fighting these inaccuracies that are on those sites for, really since the beginning, and this is just making it worse. So what will Zillow do now? Create alternative revenue streams. So listing referrals from Inman News, Spencer Raskoff, CEO of Zillow. Go ahead.
Bob Jurgensen, read that comment. That's a really great one.
Okay. Bob Jurgensen, you got it. God help us. This is what Bob says. God help us if Zillow, Trulia, or Homes.com is our, quote, savior. Realtor.com should be, and always should have been, the single best source for real estate listing data. And if it was, we would be getting dividend checks right now instead of paying our annual dues to NAR. I live for the day when Zillow's shares are penny stocks. Justice will be served, but only if we, as an industry, cut off their feeds and quit prostituting ourselves. Think about this. Who needs them? If Realtor.com grows up and grows a pair, we certainly do not. Welcome, Mr. Murdoch. We welcome some sanity to this industry.
And I'm here to tell you guys, Bob's comment is shared amongst many of you. And I will, without showing my cards too much, Bob's comments were also shared at the highest levels of our real estate industry. So the reality of it is all the, finaglings and political maneuverings and all the little public-facing commenting about, we're all one big happy family. The reality of it is many of you guys are so frustrated with the way things have been working as far as how your listings have been essentially exploited in many cases, advertised, featured, whatever you want to say it. But the reality of it is they were using your listings to make money, to sell leads to other agents. And, a lot of you rightfully were saying, well, why am I not only having to buy my leads back, but why am I not being paid for the listings I'm providing on that website? It doesn't really right. So these are all the conversations that have been going on for the last 7 or 8 years. But those conversations now, guys, are officially over. It's no longer relevant. And I know this comment is this conversation is one of those things that people are sick of hearing about, and I'm sick of talking about it. But now, because of News Corp's, I think, really knockout blow to Zulia, there is no more conversation. The syndication battles are over, and guess what? Rupert Murdoch won. So here's our expectations of what Zillow will do now. And these are just some random ideas, random thoughts that I wrote down, but also from talking with other folks in the industry about what they expect will happen. So I'll give you this first one. I think Zillow is going to actively create alternative revenue streams. And they're going to do that in a multitude of ways. And the first way, the one that I think we need to all be on the lookout for, and I'm not so sure if it's a bad thing, is listing referrals. So, Julie, there was a great quote in Inman News from Spencer Raskoff, the CEO of Zillow. Do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, he said, we think that agents will view online impression-based advertising in the same way that they have traditionally viewed lead referral economics, which is to say that they're willing to pay up to 40% of their commission to the channel that provides them with a customer.
Okay, so obviously what he's talking about is charging a referral fee for listing referrals specifically, or for buyer referrals specifically. So you guys will have to make a decision, especially those of you who are listening who are brokers. You'll have to make a decision whether or not you want to be competing at that level and then starting to pay referral fees to those companies if that's the path they go. Now, this one's kind of a maybe out there idea, but one of my other friends that I chat with every day suggested that Zillow or Zulia might pivot and start becoming a FSBO type site. In other words, they might get, say, you know what, let's just go directly after sellers. Let's create a portal, let's create a section on the site where a potential for sale by owner could list their home for sale. It's been tried before, yes. It's not a new business model, but the fact is it's never been tried before on a website that's had the traffic that Zillow does. So if Zillow were to roll that out, I'm sure that they would get traction. So that's another potential revenue stream for them. Another idea is Zillow may be simply sold or just fade away. I was looking at Zillow's stock over the last, since I think July, and their share price has gone down by half. So there is reasons to believe that some value investor, and I'll tell you the one I think might actually be looking at it, is Berkshire Hathaway's Warren Buffett. I bet you he has on his radar that maybe this is a killer, wonderful, class-leading, unbelievably good opportunity for him to buy a website for all of his real estate brands. I would not be surprised at all if those conversations are already taking place. The next idea, Zillow may innovate and figure out a way to attract brokers directly to them quickly. This is entirely possible. Again, complete hats off and respect to the management team at Zillow, guys. They have become the number one site for homeowners and sellers and buyers and consumers in general to go to look for home information, displacing Realtor.com because they did a better job. They won that battle because they provided a superior product. Now, of course, now that they're not going to have a vast majority of the listings on their website, who knows if homeowners and sellers will, or buyers will consider going to that site anymore. I seriously doubt if they will. And, of course, News Corp is also going to spend massive amounts of money increasing and improving the experience on Realtor.com. So I would expect that News Corp will not only match them as far as consumer experience very quickly, by the way, but I also would suggest that because of the fact that they'll have virtually all the homes for sale in the United States on their website, that really, at the end of the day, does Zulia really have a chance? It's possible. I mean, the guys at Zillow, again, could figure out a way to quickly roll out some sort of really fancy, really attractive program for brokers to get their listings. They could, for example, start paying brokers for their listings. They could do something that made it a no-brainer value proposition. The idea I had was, what if they were to go to knowing that the home buyers, realtors who buy buyer leads for the most part, obviously are Zillow's primary customer, right? Agents buying buyer leads, those are the guys that are, providing the revenue stream for Zillow. What if Zillow were to go to the top brokers in the country and say, we'll pay you to advertise your listings because they're making money off the buyer sides. We'll pay you to off the buyer referrals and the buyer leads. We'll pay you for your use of your listings, and by the way, we'll also, give direct links and all that. They'll work out some sort of really fantastic no-brainer deal for brokers, where the brokers will say heck yes, and oh, by the way, there's a financial incentive to say heck yes, and then they just focus on making their money off selling buyer leads. That could happen too. I mean, there's a lot of different ways they could go, but the reality of it is the path that they've been on with essentially attracting consumer eyeballs from having lots of homes for sale, those days are over starting in about 90 days. So the next section that we're going to talk about, and we should have time to talk about this today, is how this will affect you. Julie, but before we jump to our next 4 points, where's your mind going with this?
Yeah, well, a whole lot of people are going to have to pivot pretty quick. So what are they supposed to do about this? There's a variety of agents. So you talked about the agents who are buying buyer leads. My mind is I'm going through my checklist of clients that, we have newer coaching clients. We have clients that have been with us for a long time. We've already had these conversations with and gotten them off of whatever paid lead addiction they might have been suffering from. But, this is something to be taken seriously. It's not going to stay the same. It is not going to be Zillow and Trulia as you know it. So to ignore this is very faulty thinking. But go ahead.
So it's going to affect you guys in a negative and positive way, just depending on what Julie just said, your positioning in the marketplace. So, Julie, what's the first point?
All right. So, again, how will this affect you? Point number one, agents who buy buyer leads are going to have a very hard time adapting when this happens. And fortunately, we do have 90 days to help you guys with this. But agents who are buying those buyer leads, you guys are going to have to adapt. Point number two, agent teams that were built on providing buyer leads to buyer agents are going to have to pivot very quickly. We're talking especially these teams that have multiple buyer agents where that flow of leads has been a paid flow of leads from these sites. So team leaders, hope you guys are paying attention to this. So point number three, Tim, agents with skills are going to flourish like never before. Why? It was possible to buy buyer leads and stay in business. Working with buyers is mostly social. It's physical work versus listings, which are mental work. So how will the buyer agents who never learned to generate their own business, much less be listing agents, actually survive now? So Tim, can you talk a little bit about, agents that the most skilled agents are set to flourish immediately?
Well, guys, the real rub has been in, the syndication, the portals, and all this never-ending, finally ending conversation has really been between agents who know how to list properties and are primarily listing agents and those who don't. In other words, the buyer's agents. So the buyer's agents were the ones that were dependent on buying the buyer leads. And yes, and I know a lot of you have formed teams where you have a bunch of agents who are dependent on you buying the buyer leads from these portals and then parceling them out and making some percent, hopefully, and making a profit, rarely, but hopefully, on whatever transactions those buyer agents were doing. Well, now that these portals essentially are going to be, I don't know what you want to call them. You can use whatever word you want to, but let's just say neutered. You're not going to have the influx of buyer leads in the traditional sense. So you literally have built an expensive business that's dependent on something that's no longer going to work. So at the end of the day, like never before, but this has always been true, is the listing agents, the rich of the richest agents are always going to be listing agents. The listing agents are going to control the marketplace. Those of you who have only come up in your real estate careers, and really since like 2007, have only come up in your real estate careers knowing how to work buyers because you bought buyer leads, those are the agents that I'm most worried about. Okay? You guys, you know who you are. Look at how many houses you sold. How many of those houses have been from buyers? You guys have something to worry about. As Julie just said, you've got 90 days to do something about it. You better do something about it because the information that we're giving you now is essentially, it is the warning that you need to be taking seriously. And you know what? Here's the upside to all of this. The upside to all of this is point number 4. Local broker. So where's the traffic going to go? So let me set this up a little bit. Where's the traffic going to go? The real estate, economy, our economy, the real estate industry is at the very beginning stages of what's going to be a 10-year real estate boom. No doubt about that. You've already experienced it. I don't think there's a single listener to our radio show of 50,000 plus of you that listen as regular listeners. Every single one of you, I think, have learned to accept that, if not embrace it. We are at the very beginning stages of a 10-year real estate boom. So there's going to be more buyers, more sellers looking for information about real estate, looking for potentially you, and they're going to be now going back to your local website, your broker's website. We're expecting to see a dramatic increase of traffic going back to you. Now, again, walk yourself through this. You're a home buyer in your marketplace. You're looking for properties for sale. And let's say you've been used to going to Zulia. You hop on Zulia, no listings, no information there. Okay? It's still a beautiful, elegant website, but it's lacking the very information that you needed that you were getting before. So it's not there. So what do? You hit up Google, or you hit up your local broker or agent site, or you go to Realtor.com. The bottom line is, guys, is that the traffic is going to be returning to the people that have been actually doing the work all the way along, the listing agents and the brokers that built really great websites. This is just the first pebble in the pond of all the things that are going to happen as a result of this untethering between ListHub and Zulia. If you're running one of the 5 as your bonus point, if you're one of the many, 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 many companies out there who are selling, I'd call it subsidiary products that are dependent on Zulia, you are going to seriously need to consider changing your business model. If you're one of these websites that are selling lead follow-up systems or CRMs and your primary customers are people managing the, leads that they get from those portal sites, you might want to seriously consider, sending a nice letter to Rupert Murdoch and see what you can do to help him, or going directly to brokers and offering your product that way. The industry, guys, is ripe for innovation, and finally, the innovation's coming from internally inside our industry. I am personally thrilled about that. I'm thrilled to see, and through News Corp, through Rupert Murdoch, that we are taking back control of our information. Now, let's see what we do with it. Let's see if we screw it up. Let's see if our industry actually has learned from the mistakes of the past, and whether or not we're really going to recognize the fact that we have to build a really phenomenal experience for consumers. Let's not leave the door open, again, for another company to come in and essentially take our data and sell it back to us. Guys, we don't need to argue or debate this anymore. The fact is that you are in the perfect position now to really take this information and build the real estate business of your dreams. Think about all the different aspects and opportunities that this change is creating for you as an individual. If there's anything we can do for you, go to freecoachingcallsforagents.com, freecoachingcallsforagents.com. Jules, anything else you'd like to say to all of our listeners before we end the show today?
Pay attention, be ready to move with the times, be ready to pivot, be ready to embrace your business and run with it instead of just saying, oh, maybe this doesn't affect me. So listen to the radio show. We will keep you up to date, and thank you for being our listeners.
Have a fantastic day, and we'll talk with you on the radio tomorrow.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows, and until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.